Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Watercooler, the world's most statistically average sports podcast. I haven't said that one in a while. My name is Ryan Saba, the most electrifying voice in sports information, and with me as always.
It's me. It's Lukey C, a.k.a. the Bubble Boy. What are we talking about today?
The Bubble Boy, for our younger fans out there, is a reference to an episode of Seinfeld, or as Behern from Zero Dark Nerdy calls it, Seinfeld. I don't know why he always calls it Seinfeld, but he does. And for you younger fans, I don't know. Seinfeld's on one of the streaming services. Check it out if you haven't seen it. And if you have seen it, watch it again. So I'm going to say what we're going to talk about today, and then I have a little bit of news. So before, that's off topic. So today we are going to talk about the return of our second favorite sport, which is the NBA, and sort of the abbreviated, I guess not abbreviated, but the restart of the NBA season is upon us. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about some of our favorite players in the NBA, and then we're going to do a little bit of a mock draft, if you will, of our top 5 starting fives all time. So that should be exciting. Now, before we get into any of that, do I look any different to you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about the camera. I just mean in general, do I look any different to you? The answer is yes, and I'll tell you why. You are looking at the newly crowned 2015 BCS national champion head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats. We just before this, not to steal Barstool Big Cat's whole spiel that he's doing, but we just beat the Oklahoma Sooners in the BCS national championship game, 28-21, and it's year 5 of the dynasty down there in Southern Ohio. I want to talk about this a little bit because I think it's important.
Did it take you a little bit longer than you were expecting? 5 years.
5 seasons.
Ooh, that's a long
5 seasons. What I'll say is this. It was a little bit of a comeback redemption season. Last year we went undefeated, and we lost to Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl by like 4 touchdowns. I got absolutely demolished, destroyed. So we came back, went undefeated again. So we're on like a 25-game winning streak. Went in there 28-21, beat the Bucks in Columbus. We had a 4-game stretch where we beat the Bucks in Columbus, went down to the Bayou, beat LSU, beat Texas at Texas, and then beat Purdue. So in my simulated dynasty, Purdue's actually a pretty good team, and they steal a lot of recruits from me. So I had to go up there and beat the brakes off of them. So we're very excited about that. Big news. I don't know what's going to happen. My contract is up. I think there's a team up north that if they come calling, we may go to that maize and blue. So more to come on that. The next time around.
For your career.
Huh?
That'd be really unfortunate for your career.
So the Bucks went 8-4. They couldn't get over that loss to them Bearcats. So
I knew eventually they get to those 4 or 5 losses you talked about before last season.
This is fake, and it's 2015 for Christ's sake. I just saw Paul Feinbaum say he thought Ryan Day was the second best coach in college football earlier this week. So we'll save college football talk for a few weeks. So let's talk about the NBA. The NBA is gearing up for the return of their season. They're going into the bubble in Orlando in Disney World. And, some key dates there. 7/1, that's today, right? it's the hard deadline for players to opt out. I think that's critical because there's a lot of players that are opting out. It doesn't sound like Kyrie Irving is going to play. A lot of players have been testing positive for COVID, so they're not going. I'm trying to think who else. DeAndre Jordan was one. Somebody just yesterday tested positive and isn't going. So today is the last day for players to opt out of those teams, that 16 teams or whatever. No, not 16.
22.
The 22 teams that have been invited. So we'll see there. 7-7 through 7-9. So what, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. The teams are going to be traveling to Orlando, which is interesting. They're getting them there. They're going to seclude them for a while. 7-9, so they're going to kind of start practice right after that last travel day. 7-9 through 7-21 is a training camp, which, we've seen a lot of players come out and talk about how difficult winning a championship is going to be in this format. So they basically are starting their season over. They're going to go through a 2.5 week training camp. The 22nd of July through the 29th, they're going to do inter-squad scrimmages. I think this is worse than the NFL preseason. Like, these guys are going to be like chomping at the bit to play real games. So July 30th is the actual beginning of the restart. It's the start of the season. They're going to play 8 regular season games. That's going to lead up to a potential play-in tournament on the 15th of August. And it's just for the 8th seed. It's really going to depend on the position of the 9th seed. If there are 4 games or fewer behind the 8th seed, there will be a little play-in series. If the team that's currently in the 8th seed win 1 game, they become the 8th seed. The 9th seed has an option for double elimination. So if they beat that team twice, they become the 8th seed. So 8-17, the playoffs begin. The conference finals are set to begin on September 15th, and the NBA finals are set to begin on September 30th. So it's just going to be so weird with football, college football, NFL, college football, hockey, baseball. Like, everything's going to be on, hopefully, right? Hopefully everything's going to be on all at once.
Say all this with a caveat, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully in September. I just saw that Adam Silver said yesterday that if they keep popping positive cases, that they won't have the season. But talk to me what you think about the bubble itself, this whole Orlando thing. Just any thoughts you have about format, these teams, what you're excited to see, obviously besides LeBron. But just talk about it a little bit. I think that it's crazy what's happening.
Yeah,
right
there's a lot to talk about and a lot to unpack just in that. Just getting to the bubble. I think that they I heard what she said about Adam Silver saying they might look at canceling everything if they keep getting these positives, but I think they knew positives were coming. For one, these guys all across the NBA and across every sports league have been testing positive for, since all this stuff started. Rudy Gobert was the one that shut the whole thing down in the first place. And then ever since then, you just have guys throughout the league, even marquee guys like Kevin Durant had it early on. And you just see a lot of positives. So I think that they knew that this stuff was coming. And a lot of the coaches I've heard are just a little worried about it, just unsure, but none of them have really talked about not going. I listened to the Hoop Collective with Brian Windhorst and Jackie Mack, and they talked about a lot of the teams, especially some of those ones in the East at the lower end there. They're not real excited about it, just because they don't really see how much they can gain from it. The experience, but it's not going to be like normal playoff experience with this, since gyms will be mostly empty. But I just think it's just an interesting case study altogether. The positive test stuff is funny because the PGA Tour, as we know, is back. They're through 3 weeks now. They're losing about 6 guys a week either they're testing positive or their caddies are testing positive, and other guys are just pulling out of what they're calling, quote, an abundance of caution. That's their phrase, not mine. So, and they're not a real bubble. You know, they're traveling. They call it a bubble, but they're flying to these golf courses, different states. They've already been through 3 different states
in private jets.
Yeah, and they did get a charter. They did announce last week going from Connecticut to where they playing this week, in Detroit this week. So they had chartered jets and stuff. So, but there's still volunteers that live in Michigan that have been in Michigan for the past, 4 weeks since the tour started, that are volunteering to help the tournament. So it's not really a bubble. So it'll be interesting to see how they keep the integrity of that bubble up. And just a lot of the fun stuff with, I don't know if you've read any of the stuff. Shams is pretty on top of it, talking about what the hotels look like and what the accommodations are going to be. They did roll back recreational drug testing for these guys.
Yeah.
Since they're basically going to go 7 weeks from, next week on when they start arriving until the playoffs start. And some of those teams are eliminated so that they can bring some of their family members in. So they're going that whole time, just basically teams, limited coaching staff, limited physio, all that. So it'll just be really interesting to see how it all plays out. But it looks like it's going to be a go here.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens
What
over
do
the
you
next
think?
couple weeks. Look, I think the dynamic of this whole situation is so fascinating. Just, playing almost an entire regular season, stopping for 4 months, restarting the season, and really just playing like a preseason. Those 8 regular season games are just going to be like preseason games. And then jumping right into the playoffs. There's obviously advantages for teams who were banged up and had injuries. There's obvious, disadvantages for, older teams. Just the guys getting back into the flow of things.
Well, if you'd watched that 2K tournament early on when this stuff all started, when quarantine first came out, a couple of the guys, I think one of the guys from the Heat that played, he lived in an apartment. He's like, I haven't touched a ball in weeks. And I mean, that was early on. That was before facilities had opened back up. What was that, last month or?
Yeah, but Giannis basically said this week or last week that all they do is lift weights and shoot jump shots. Like, that's all they've been doing.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to be anywhere close to game shape.
He probably needs to shoot some jump shots. But one positive case, we'll use the Lakers as an example. Shit, let's use the Clippers as an example. Kawhi Leonard gets it, right? You're done. It's, once the playoffs start, if you have to sit out for 2 weeks or whatever.
Well, they have it designed so each round of the playoffs is 2 weeks. So basically, if you do test positive, though, you're definitely done for that round. And
and it's just like if one superstar gets it, his team's done. Or like think about like if role players, like 4 or 5 of your role players get it, like all of a sudden your team depth is gone. There's going to be an accelerated timeline on this. There's less travel, so the NBA can stack the games closer together. So, older teams are at a disadvantage. Younger teams, like I'll say the Celtics, young, deep teams like the Celtics are at an advantage. So just the whole dynamic is fascinating to me.
I don't know how much of an advantage that is, but I get what you're saying.
With that being said, I picked the Clippers and the Celtics to go to the finals in our preview episode.
Weren't you on the Bucks? Didn't you have the Bucks?
No, you had the Bucks. Or did you have the Sixers?
I had the Sixers. I had the
Lakers.
Lakers.
So I picked the Celtics.
I had Lakers and Sixers.
So I feel really good about my pick. I think the Lakers are in trouble. I think Avery Bradley. I think that's a big loss for them. A lot of people go Avery Bradley, but he's their 3rd best defender. He's probably their best perimeter defender. That's a big loss for them.
He's fine, but I bet you they can get 70% of them from the replacement they signed.
From a guy who hasn't played basketball in 2 years.
That's opposed to playing against a bunch of guys that haven't played in 4 months. I mean,
Good point. That's a good point.
I just think that that's a little, it's a little overblown. But I mean, that's semantics. We can get into that.
Yeah, and look, I think the younger teams have an advantage here. Quicker turnaround times. Just those guys. Their bodies are different than older guys. I mean, not everybody's LeBron, So with that, let's talk about. I think this is interesting. We can talk about who we think's going to win and those kind of things, but I think we talk about that down the road prior to everything resetting. Let's just kind of have some general conversation here about, and I think we can do this 2 different ways. And I'll give a little background preface. So Luke and I oftentimes text throughout the day. He gets bored and he misses me, so he sends me random texts just to see how I'm doing, make sure that I'm, we're still friends and all that. And yesterday, I don't even know how it started, but Dame Lillard's on the cover of NBA 2, the new NBA 2K game. So we started getting this conversation about our top 5. So I think there's 1 of 2 ways we can do this. I think we can talk about who we actually think our top 5 players are in the NBA, or we can talk about the guys that we enjoy watching. My list is going to be more of the latter. So yeah, I mean, look, I think there's about 6 or 7 guys that, are considered the best in any order that they would fall in. I think that's a little boring. I think we can go back and forth if you want to. I know that you get a little discouraged when we go all the way down our lists. It's feedback I get from Luke. So, I think if you have, if you want to start with your 5th guy, and I want to say this, and I don't know if you picked up the reference yesterday. There's a Mos Def song where he talks about how he's the shot clock. He's above the game. I don't think we should allow LeBron in this conversation, because LeBron's like the shot clock. Like, it's so easy to say, oh my God, I've been watching LeBron for 17 years. Like, he's still, believe it or not, he's still my favorite player to watch, So, I guess if you want to pick LeBron, you can. I'm not going to, and I prefaced it with that. So why don't you go ahead? I think if you have any honorable mentions, you can point them out now, or you can just go right into 5.
I mean, I think some of my honorable mentions might be talked about here by one of us anyway. So I'm just going to go right into 5. Starting with the young guy. Since Bron is on the list, one of my honorable mentions had made the list here. So we're starting with Luka.
Okay.
Luka Doncic.
At 5.
At 5. He's got a chance to really rise, but what he's done is really incredible. Second-year player, was right there through the through the MVP race there, and he's got the Mavs playing really good basketball.
He's got a chance to really rise.
I think they had I think they made a great move with Porzingis, but just the way he just commands everything, and just the way he plays is just so much fun. He gets to the basket, he can shoot. He's bigger. I know he's not really listed as a point guard, but I mean, basically he's a playmaker. So
on NBA 2K, they got him as a 2 guard.
Yeah,
I hate it.
It's strange. I mean, it's really the NBA anyway is positionless, but he handles the ball. He does a little bit of everything, and I don't know. I don't really see many, if any, weaknesses here. Okay. But he's just fun to watch. He's energetic. He's the total package, and he's going to be around for a long time. And I really like what the Mavs are doing.
Yeah. So I do have a couple honorable mentions, and I don't think that you're gonna name any of these guys, but these are guys. I've had the NBA package over the years. I had it a little bit. They do free previews, and I watch it a lot. So, I watch a lot of hoops. D'Angelo Russell's a guy that I love. Patrick Beverly's a guy that I just he's really good. Nikola Jokic is one that he's just an underrated guy. Doesn't
I
get a
must
lot.
say though, I do get tired of watching him at the end of games when he's just like,
Yeah, I mean, look, but they said that he's transformed his body during the pandemic.
well,
So
he's one that tested positive. So we'll see when he's able to get over here.
yeah, he got that COVID-19, man. And Devin Booker's one that I love that kid. He's obviously trapped in Phoenix, so that's a tough one. Number 5 on my list is Ja Morant, the front runner for the Rookie of the Year, mostly because Zion was hurt for the majority of the season. But regardless, he is the front runner for the Rookie of the Year. He reminds me sort of like a young D Rose with a jumper, or maybe like a young Russ Westbrook that actually like passes and gets his teammates involved. He's freakishly explosive. That kid is unbelievable. A lot of his videos that have been, he's been hooping in the gyms and stuff during COVID. He's crazy. But, not only is he explosive, but he's got incredible vision, as a playmaker. So he's a player. I loved watching him at Marquette. And, obviously I enjoyed watching him this year too. So that's number 5 on my list. Who you got it for?
So, like we talked about earlier, this list is kind of jumbled. It's not always just favorite guys or guys that I like to watch play. It's my favorite guys that I like to root for. This is a guy that I like to root for. Hard nosed, he's got a crazy backstory. Jimmy Buckets, big fan. He plays with fire. Not the greatest shooter, but he always just wants to speak his mind, and he's going to do what he wants to do. And I've just kind of always been a fan of that type of player. Not to mention he's a good follow on social media. So, but
not real nice to his teammates though.
See, I knew we were gonna get here. But anyway,
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Those kids were lazy. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but he got run out of 2 organizations.
I understand. And then one of the greatest execs of all time recruited him, and actually he's got them in the thick of things. Heading into the bubble here, kind of out of, I don't know if it's out of nowhere, but I don't think many people expected him to be this good. But Jimmy's a guy that I really like root for.
Okay. My number 4 guy is one half of the Splash Brothers. Not the half that most people think. Klay Thompson. I think Klay Thompson is one of, if not the most underrated players in the NBA. I think that, playing with Steph and Kevin Durant has, I don't think the casual average fan realizes how important he is to that team and how good he really is. He catches fire at the biggest times. We've referenced Klay games. He's saved that team on a number of occasions. He had 37 points in a quarter, the most in NBA history. Think about that. 37 points in a quarter. Mm-hmm. It's 12 minutes. And I don't even think he played the full 12. I think he did that in like 8 or 9 minutes. He had 14 threes in a game, which is an NBA record. And I think probably one of the most memorable games for me of his was Game 6 of the 2016 Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That was a game where he had 41 points. So for those of you that in 2016, the Cleveland Cavaliers came back from a 3-1 deficit to beat the 73-win Warriors in the NBA championship. Well, in the round before, Kevin Durant was on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Golden State came back from 3-1 to beat them. Golden State won Game 5 fairly easily, but in Game 6, they were down, double digit. Golden State was down double digits, and Clay just absolutely took that game over. He had an NBA record 11 threes. He hit like 8 of them in the second half. Like it was just, he is such an important player to that team, and I don't think history is going to remember him the way that he should be. So Clay is a guy that I love watching, and it's certainly a lot easier for me to talk about these things post LeBron in the Cavs uniform. So that's
He also had that game where he scored like 60 points and took like 9 dribbles.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, exactly. So, look, he gets overshadowed, and he plays great defense too. Don't forget that. I mean, he plays great defense. So, who you got at number 3?
Before I move on to number 3, I'm going to show you my favorite picture of Klay Thompson, and we'll post this on our socials. But just real quick here, take a look at that. 24 minutes, 5 points, fouled out. Having fun at the finals, baby. Having fun at the finals.
He had a bad game.
No, I it's hard to hate Clay just because he's just so aloof and just goofy.
They said to him, "What do you do in your free time?" He said, "Shoot." They said, "Well, when you're not playing basketball, what do you do?" He looked and he said, "Shoot." So, he's just one of those guys. He's a dog guy too. He's got a pit bull or multiple pit bulls. So, he's a man of my heart. So, who you got at 3?
3 is let's see here. Very another one of my favorite players. He's not very recently was in the runner-up or the MVP race. Not many people saw. Big fan of his. Was very, very close to being a Cavalier. The trade was agreed to, and the owner of his team at the time backed out. But Paul George is there.
It wasn't the owner; it was the general manager.
Yes.
The owners agreed to it.
You're right. The owners agreed to it, and the GM.
Whoever that GM was had something against the Cavs for some reason.
Yeah, he wasn't going to send him to help us,
yeah,
but
fucking.
But yeah, Paul George. That horrific leg injury with Team USA. Took him a while to come back from that, but it's another guy who I just appreciate. It is kind of a weird move to sign a contract extension, and I think he's got a little bit of beta tendencies there. I don't think he'll ever win big with him as your number 1, but I think he's the best number 2 that you can get right now. Just really enjoy watching him play. He, like I said, he does tend to shrink a little bit in those big moments, but I don't think he came into the league. He was only like 20, I think, 2 years at Fresno, and it took him a while to get used to it. And he was just starting to hit his stride when he had that injury. But he's regained it. Like you said, he was runner-up or third most votes for the MVP 2 years ago. Kind of come down from that a little bit. He had shoulder surgery in the offseason, but hadn't gotten to play much with Kawhi. So it's, that's another interesting thing about this bubble is they got 8 games to try and figure it out here before the playoffs start. So
he's another guy that's had some memorable playoff performances.
Against my guy.
Yeah, against LeBron. He always would get up. When LeBron was in Miami, and also when he came back to Cleveland. So I appreciate Paul George. He's another two-way player. I like those guys. I like those guys that play defense. So it's a great pick. I'm going to take the other guy on that team. My number 3 guy is Kawhi Leonard. He's really coming off that improbable playoff run and championship last year. Obviously, Kevin Durant gets hurt. Clay blows out his knee. Golden State, a lot of dominoes had to fall for Toronto to win that way. But, when you have a player like Kawhi who's, just he's a superstar, that guy keeps you in games, keeps you in series. And you know what? If you're only down 4 when the star player fouls out for the other team or gets hurt or whatever, you're in position, right, to win. So he kept that team hanging around. I think obviously combination of him and Kyle Lowry finally showed up That dude was the invisible man. If LeBron was his kryptonite. So hopefully Toronto doesn't make it to the finals and has to play the Lakers. But enough beating up on Kyle Lowry. But Kawhi's a two-way player, really in every sense of the word. He is the best perimeter defender in the NBA. He locks down the best players. I mean, there's no even. I hesitate to use the word afraid, but I will say that LeBron does not like it when Kawhi Leonard guards him. And I don't think LeBron doesn't like it when anybody, I don't think he has those same emotions with anybody else.
Oh yeah, there's a clip from
the finals,
first or second one, yeah, where he checked in. He's
Kawhi
LeBron said, "Fuck."
Yeah, I mean, he was at the foul line. Fuck. So,
yeah.
And that was 21-year-old Kawhi, and I think right now he's at his peak powers. He's a humble guy. Which I like, and I think he really embraces being sort of the anti-superstar, you know what I mean? And I like that about him. Normally I don't like those guys. I like the loud, the boisterous, believe it or not. I know it's hard to imagine that I would like people that were, loud and boisterous and obnoxious, but I do. And, he's sort of the opposite of that. He's the anti-superstar. I think you saw last year when they won the championship when he did the ha, he made fun of himself a little bit.
Baby.
Yeah, what to do, baby? So I like him. He's a fun guy.
He's a fun guy.
Yeah, but you got it too.
Hey, no argument there, Kawhi. I do enjoy watching him play. But I just like a little bit more personality. But nothing wrong with that pick there. Okay.
I think he's got personality, man. I just think he's one of those guys that doesn't show his personality in the media. He likes to keep his private life private.
Yeah, that's fair. The story of him riding the Tahoe for several years into his NBA career, his old 98 Tahoe or was it Blazer or something.
But one of those, I'm trying to think who it was. Like Matt Ryan or something. Drove like a conversion van or something for his first 5 or 6 years. So,
but anyway, number 2 is man, this is just I'll always defend this guy. I love him.
I know you will.
He's got the best handle in the league. I will say it is exhausting sometimes, but strictly from basketball perspective, he is so much fun to watch as Kyrie Irving. Best handles in the league. And he shows up in big spots. He's not afraid. He's not afraid to take
the biggest shot in NBA history.
And then, not to mention Game 5, the 41 points just to get to Game 6, facing elimination. He's got a couple 50-point games. One of them came in San Antonio against the Spurs. The kid could play.
LeBron was hurt in that game, or maybe I'm trying to think where Kyrie was just hitting.
Yeah, they came
bombing threes.
They were down 9 with
Yeah, but LeBron, I think LeBron went out of that game. He wasn't playing in the fourth quarter.
Okay, but either way, I mean, he is so much fun to watch. He's one of the best finishers. If you could find a highlight package of him just finishing at the rim, just leaving them and getting to the rim. It's just so much fun to watch him play and handle. And, obviously, like we said before, biggest shot in NBA history, definitely the biggest shot in Cavs history. So special place in my heart for Kyrie Irving.
I mean, I love Kyrie, but I think that his attitude and his just sort of
look, you're not going to get any pushback from me on any of that because, like I said, it's exhausting sometimes.
I think it holds him
no longer on my team.
Yeah, I think it holds him back. Honestly, I think he's just I think he's so miserable, and it goes beyond kind of trying to find chips on your, trying to find motivation. I just think generally he's not a happy guy for whatever reason. I think things make him unhappy. Obviously, you couldn't be in a better situation than he was in Cleveland. And he found a way to, sabotage that. So I love Kyrie. I'll always love Kyrie. But my guy at number 2 is a guy I'd rather have over him. And that is the source of this whole conversation. And that is my boy, BGD, Big Game Dame, Dame Lillard.
Wake up when he wins a big game.
Hey, if he played with LeBron, he could hit big shots too.
What's he got, like two playoff series wins? 3?
I mean, listen, man. I like him. This is my list. Remember, we do this all the time. This is my list. I think he's an absolute beast, and I think he has no conscience. There's no shot that's too long for him. Last year in the playoffs against Oklahoma City, he had a 37-foot three-point step back.
I'm not gonna lie, that was
over Paul George.
Cold as hell.
Over Paul George to win the game.
Like, well, he's not going to shoot that. He's not going to shoot that. There's just no way. And then he just.
But he's done that a few times. I mean, he steps up big in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Only Steph and Harden, and this is an actual stat, right? Only Steph and James Harden make more long threes, and the long threes is like 2 feet or more behind the actual 3-point line. So, he takes and he makes big shots, especially in the playoffs. He's fun to watch. And he's cocky. He's got a little swagger. I like that. But he also seems like he's a guy that, is a good teammate that you would like. I don't think you would get teammates that would talk badly about him.
Never heard a bad word about him.
Yeah. So, look.
Except for maybe Westbrook might have some worth.
But, yeah, but those two got a thing, man.
That's fun. It's fun to watch.
But Russell Westbrook fights with everybody.
Mm.
He fights with himself. Sometimes, I've never seen a person that has more anger. Like, he is the angriest person alive. There's nobody angrier than Russell Westbrook. Anyway, Dame's my number 2. Big game Dame. Love him. Love him. Love him. Who's your number 1?
Favorite player to watch right now, outside of LeBron James, because that's just unfair. Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, you do hear a lot. I think it was Harden and him went back and forth, which was fun there for a little bit right before quarantine and all this started. But, he's like, watching him just dunk isn't fun. I'm like, I disagree completely. Watching him grab a rebound and take like 4 steps down the court and then just launch towards the rim and just hammer it is fun. I love
watching James Harden isn't fun.
Yeah.
Like, the guy, go ahead.
But let's see here. Yeah, it's there are legit criticisms to his game. It's taken him a while to learn how to shoot. Some might say he still hasn't learned, but he is up over.
Is he 24?
He is 25.
Okay.
He's up over 30% from 3 this season so far. And he's taking more of them. Taking more of them this year than he has in any other year. So it's a big improvement. He's learning how to do it. But we talked about Paul George coming into the league. Like, this guy was even more raw. And I remember when they drafted him, I think that they take him like 14th overall or something like that.
I don't think, maybe it was that low. I don't know.
15th. It was 15th overall in 2013. Just like the footage that you saw of him was just like these grainy, like outdoor videos. But he's 3-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defensive. He can really do it all. Like, he's like, we've talked about this on this podcast before. I've said it here.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the next evolution, and it's fun to watch. And if he does learn how to shoot, like, I don't know what you do, because he can get to the rim at will. And even if you slow him down, he's so long that it doesn't matter. He can still get his shot off at the rim. And so, he's going to become unstoppable here if he learns how to shoot.
One of the things that LeBron did, really in his mid to late 20s, was in the offseason he used to work out with Hakeem Olajuwon.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Giannis should work with Hakeem Olajuwon. I think that would help him. I think if he started to develop more post moves, look, he can dunk all day, but if he started to develop like dream shake and like a sky hook, he wouldn't have to learn how to shoot threes. Because he would really be unstoppable. I'm a fan of Giannis. I do enjoy watching him. It's just, he's not on my list.
No problem with that. That's my list.
Number 1 for me. Look, I don't think anybody who watches this podcast knows who my favorite. I mean, my favorite player in the NBA is Luka Doncic. I love him. I mean, I really don't know what to say. He's the Rookie of the Year winner. I think he's a perennial MVP candidate moving forward. Maybe I think he could actually win a couple, man, maybe one or two. But I think he's a guy that's 2, 3, 4 for the next 10, 12, 13 years.
Well, once he starts to hit, how old is he? 21, 20?
Yeah, he's 21 years old.
So once he starts to hit that like real prime, 25, 26, 27, I mean, some of these guys are going to be aged out, or if we're going to be fatigued on them. Guys like Giannis, guys like Kawhi. Like
they were saying that about LeBron too.
Yeah, but he hasn't won an MVP.
LeBron may still be winning MVPs when Luka's 30. So
he hasn't won an MVP in a long time. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
He plays the game different. We talked about this on our players under 25 conversation. He's got that European style where they're just crafty. I mean, he plays the game different. He's 6'7". He's like 230. He's got a thick build, but he is athletic. He's sneaky athletic. He's super patient. He's fearless. He takes crazy step back threes and makes them. Deep threes, makes them, does the Dirk one-legged, step back, a jumper on the baseline, those kind of things. And he's unselfish. I mean, he's the total package from a talent perspective. And you kind of pointed that out when you talked about me that earlier. The best way that I would describe him is, it's a baseball term. I mean, he is a five-tool player. He reminds me of like a Ken Griffey Jr., right? Like he can run, he can hit, he can throw, he can, he's got speed, he can do everything. Like when we were kids, and I'm a couple years older than you. So, you knew Ken Griffey Jr. was coming before he got to the Mariners and started really dominating. Hi, honey. She just got home from tennis. Luka, you talked about the grainy video from Giannis. I go back to like Darko Milicic and some of those guys. You didn't have that with Luka. You had fucking 4K high definition video of him playing.
He started playing in the Euro League when he was like 14.
Yeah, but you knew he was the European guy. I'm trying to think. What, Fran Fraschilla? Fran Fraschilla is the guy on ESPN that really goes over and scouts the European guys, and he had Luka pegged. Jay Billis had him pegged. I love the kid. I love watching him play. He's fun. He's exciting, and it's going to be interesting to watch that team over the next several years if Porzingis can stay healthy. I mean, their top like 4 or 5 guys are all non-American. You got Porzingis, you got Doncic. They're power forwards from somewhere else. I played with them in 2K, so I know
Matthews might be like their best American.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, they got JJ Barea still, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my list. So
I'll move him up higher. I'll move him up higher on my list if he changes that jersey number.
Yeah, what is he, 77?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little weird to me. That's I mean, he should be like a 0 or a 1.
That's a Euro thing. But we'll let it slide.
I like that. All right, so we're gonna do. This is gonna be fun. You better hope I don't get the number 1 pick.
I really do. I'm praying you do.
So we're gonna do. We have been texting a lot about this all-time starting 5. I think that our all-time starting 5s are going to be really different, which is fine, which makes this really easy.
So do you want to draft a guy at each position?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the key. Like, I know look, I was sitting here and I was thinking about you and your whole positionless basketball thing. We're not doing that. We're playing positioned basketball. So
that's fine.
The position that the player has played or is the most recognized for playing in their career. So we'll do a snake style. Whoever First pick, basically the first pick and the last pick are the only times you're not picking twice in a row. So, do you want to flip the coin and
Yeah.
I'll call it? Can I call it?
Yeah. All right. You ready here?
Yes.
We
I
got
am going.
a head,
Look, I trust you.
a tail.
What's the tail? What is that?
2017 Effigy Mountains, Iowa.
All right. I'm going tails.
All right. Ready?
I'm going tails.
It's heads. Can I defer?
Okay.
Can I defer the first pick?
No, it doesn't work that way. Ooh. All right. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think about this at all. Like,
Now I might have to do some gamesmanship since I got that number 1 pick.
well, come on, dude.
All right.
If you don't, you better take him at number 1 because he ain't going to be there at what, 4?
All right. So number one pick.
Hold on. I got to get my list. I got to keep track of this here.
Team Luke selects at small forward from Akron, Ohio, LeBron James.
St. Vincent St. Mary High School.
LeBron Ramon James.
All right. So no shockers there. Oh man, see, here's the problem. I'm going to pick the guys that I like the most. All right, so obviously with the number 2 pick, I'm going with Michael Jordan. I don't know if that's.
I mean, that's strong.
You said that like there's some debate.
That's strong. That's a nice pick.
I'm going to go with Michael Jordan. And I'm going to go with Magic Johnson.
Nice. That was going to be, I was hoping you had the number 1 pick and took Jordan. I was going to follow with LeBron and Magic.
Next 2 to you.
All right. See, now we're getting tough. So,
Wow. It's tough because you already took a small forward.
I mean, there's only one other small forward that's really in play here.
That's right.
And see, the thing is, you might have the center. You know, I think I might surprise who.
There's 4 guys at center that I could live with.
Same. So I'm gonna go with power forward Tim Duncan.
It's a good one. That's a fucking good pick.
And I'm going to take my pick at center and I'm going with Shaq. Might be a little controversial here.
That's a good pick. I wouldn't have taken him, but that's a good pick.
Yeah, it might be a little controversial, but I'm going with Shaq.
A little. Look, I think if these teams line up and they play, right, everybody in their prime, like on a 2K or whatever, you know, Shaq is going to dominate whoever.
That's my thing.
You know, so I think that's important. All right, so I got the next 2. I mean,
See, this is easy. So like I could float on a couple of guys, but
I'm not even looking at anything. I'm looking at myself. Like I'm thinking. I don't know.
Power forward's a little thin.
It's not that hard. I mean,
I think you're pretty locked in at small forward here, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with Larry Bird at small forward.
who were you debating there?
I was thinking about taking Kevin Durant, to be
That's
honest with you.
that might have been who I would have taken.
To be honest with you, but man, dude, fucking Larry Bird, man, like before he got back problems, when you watched, look, those teams in the '80s, man, like the Lakers and the Celtics had superstars. Like the Celtics had Hall of Famers on their bench, for Christ's sake. Bill Walton and Vinnie Johnson's or Dennis Johnson. So
So, dude, your team's shaking up pretty fucking good, like the '92 Dream Team already.
Yeah, I do. So I guess it doesn't really matter who I take because you've got those two. I'm gonna go. This is just more of a statement about the type of team that I build, that I'm building. I have a team. I want a team of winners. So I'm gonna go with Bill Russell. I think Bill Russell has the best chance of slowing Shaq down because Kareem and Wilt sure as fuck aren't.
No. I did have Kareem ahead of Bill Russell, but I did have him behind Shaq simply because if we're lining up and playing, I'm taking Shaq.
Yeah, no, I mean, Shaq D's.
I get it. So I'm stuck here pretty much with point guard and shooting guard. So shooting guard is pretty easy there. I'm taking late Kobe Bryant.
Rest in peace.
What can you say about Kobe Bean, man? That hasn't already been said. And then to round out my draft here, I got to take a point guard. I went through and had 4 people in each pool.
So you made a list. Like I said to do that, and then I didn't do it.
But so, I'm gonna go with Big O. That point guard. Oscar Robertson.
All right. I'm gonna let that happen. He was a fucking small forward. he didn't play point guard. Like
he played point guard.
I'll let it go.
Played point guard.
I'll let it go.
All right. So who are you finishing up with? Let's see. Yeah, you basically have 3.
You know what? I'm gonna go a little off the cuff here. I'm not gonna go with one of your traditional, historic, great power forwards. I'm gonna go with a guy that I absolutely loved when he was young. Disliked him a little bit as he got older, but when he became an elder statesman and went back to the team that he played for when he was younger, I thought he was very, very likable. And I'm going to go with the big ticket. I'm going to go with Kevin Garnett. I think that
when did he go back?
He put his last season after he played with Minnesota his last season.
That's right, after Flip was gone.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the big ticket. I just, Charles Barkley was 6'6". He wasn't a winner. Karl Malone wasn't a winner either.
I'll tell you my list. I had Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett both ahead of Karl Malone and Charles Barkley.
Yeah. So that was kind of off the cuff for me, but I'm going with KG.
I don't think it's, I don't hate it. Like I said, I had Garnett number 2. The only thing is I might have taken Kareem over Bill, but all right. So my team, LBJ, Duncan, Shaq, Kobe, and Oscar.
So I'm going to tell you, you already got animosity in your locker room.
What?
Kobe and Shaq, man.
They made up, baby. They made up.
Oh, this is in their primes, man. So there's trouble right there.
I see my team in 5, just like Shaq and Kobe did to AI.
We'll put this on social media,
Let's go
and
for it.
we'll get some who would you rather. We'll get some feedback from the fans. I think that my team,
I can match the size.
your team is a list of individuals surrounding LeBron. My team's an actual, like, a team. Like, imagine Magic running the break with Jordan, KG, and Larry Bird. Like, Larry going out to the corner for a corner 3, KG dive into the basket, and Jordan just kind of doing, going down on the block for a fadeaway. I mean, dude, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I love my team.
Did any of those guys play at a time when a fast break was appropriate?
Have you ever heard of Showtime? Hey, Youngblood, go Google Showtime Lakers, Magic running the break.
You ever see Blue Chips?
Hey.
You ever see Blue Chips? Shaq can run the floor.
It's a movie, dog. Like, those Google clips of Lakers Showtime is real. So
I love my squad.
You're allowed to love it. I just we'll let the fans decide who's better. We'll figure out, platform for that, but we'll put it out there. So
4 Lakers in total. Probably should have been 5, but 4 Lakers in total.
Who didn't we get? Oh, Kareem. Well, Wilt Chamberlain was a Laker too for the majority of his career. So, I got championship pedigree on this squad. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I think when you start counting championships, we're past toes, man. Like we're past toes. So I got, Magic had
a bunch.
Magic had 5, Jordan had 6, Larry Bird had 3, KG only had 1, but Bill Russell had like 11.
Yeah, he got him when he didn't have to play against him. Everyone else was a foot shorter than him.
No, Bill Russell was 6'10". Wilt Chamberlain played then. They beat the fucking Lakers every time with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor and fucking Wilt Chamberlain.
How many? Let's see. I got Bron's got 3.
Kobe's got 5. Duncan's got 5, and Shaq's got 4. I don't know if Oscar Robertson. I think he won 1.
I think he won
with
1.
Milwaukee with Kareem when he was Lou Alcindor.
Yeah, 1. 1 champ.
So we both got our guy that only won 1.
Garnett really only won 1? I guess, yeah.
Yeah, with Boston.
Yeah.
That's it. Those Minnesota teams, they ran into the Lakers. He had a couple years with Marbury. Trying to think who else was on, like Wally Zerbe. Like those Minnesota teams.
Wasn't Cassell on there too?
Sam Cassell. They always ran into the Lakers. That was when Kobe and Shaq were in their prime. So
yeah, look, no arguments here. I had KG number 2 ahead of the mailman and the round mound of rebound myself.
So that's all I got. You got anything else?
I've got the only guy on a team that's going to win a championship this year, though. So
he's got a chance. So I think with that, we're gonna put this one to a close. At WC Sports Pod, I always forget to do that. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We got some NFL stuff coming soon. Sports are coming back. I've been watching a lot of Premier League, believe it or not.
wow.
My boy Pulisic on fucking Chelsea,
Hey,
man. Like,
he iced it for my guys, Liverpool.
yo,
He sealed it.
I was watching Chelsea the other night. Chelsea against who did they play?
Manchester City.
No, it was the game after that. Shit.
I don't know. I haven't really paid much attention since my guys clinched it.
I forget who they were playing. It's in the FC. It's in the it's in one of those the FA Cup or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So it's all.
When it was in Arsenal or somebody.
It wasn't Arsenal. Shit, I can't remember who it was, but Pulisic was the best player. He was the best player on the field. The kid's balance when his first touch. I mean, his feet are like cotton balls, man. Like they just suck. They just suck the ball in. He's 21 years old. I'm telling you right now. We talked about this on our Mount Rushmore episode. That kid is going to be he'll definitely be the greatest American soccer player of all time. And I think he's going to be, one of these guys that's in the top 15 or 20.
Well, think about it in a sport like golf where, Tiger inspired a bunch of guys. And now, I don't know if there's a young Tiger Woods on PGA Tour right now, but there's going to be one better than him one day. I mean, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's going to spawn off, a whole youth that wants to play soccer. But yeah.
Hold on. I want to. It's killing me that I can't remember. No, they played today. Jesus.
PGA Tour is back, and I've been heavy in that. I did hit a 25-1 ticket on DJ on Sunday. My man Dustin Johnson. So gambling's back. I got money to burn now for the rest of the bubble here.
You're amazing.
25-1, baby. Bankrolled.
I can't. I have to see who they played because it's one of those things where it's driving me. Oh, Leicester City.
Oh, okay, Leicester,
whatever.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Hey, I don't look. They say schedule. I say Leicester, motherfucker. All right. With that, thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon. Enjoy your lives.
Peace.